we're just out there. You're going to find us at concerts. You're going to find us at restaurants. You're going to find us on walks. It doesn't matter to us if it's not accessible. We're going to make it work. If we got to carry the stroller down some stairs, we're going to do it. So that has been our engagement, is not letting potentially the disability stop us, but more so embracing it and saying, we're going to go out for Easter brunch. And if that makes people uncomfortable or people don't necessarily understand our particular circumstance, it's a great opportunity for conversation.
This is Intentionally Ever After. Join intentional lifestyle coach Joe Bukartek for a series of personal conversations and coaching sessions with various people about how living with intention shows up for them.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Intentionally Ever After. Today, I am very excited to get to chat with a blast from the past in my life, Mr. Michael Rey. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to connect again.
Yes, it is. Mike, will you kindly introduce yourself to folks?
So my name is Mike Rey. I live in Richmond, Virginia. I am a former tenant of Joe, which is a great connection. He was a wonderful, wonderful housemate and landlord. I am a father of two boys, an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old named JP and Louie, and a proud husband to my wife. We live just outside Richmond, Virginia. Been there for about 12 years now, and just really passionate about being outside, living healthily, house projects, and making our house into a home, and just really engaged with my local community as much as possible. So that looks like serving on the PTA, discussing and being part of the local botanical garden, and sitting in on some of their native species. Zoom meetings, I guess, is all that we're doing now. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell, outside of my professional commitments.
Right. Such as they are, right?
That's right.
We actually talked about them a little bit before we recorded here. Mike, so not that I was wildly a different person back when we originally knew each other, but I'm really glad you're here to chat with me about intentionality. And we talked a little bit about why that is important to me. So what does it mean to you to live intentionally?
So something that I didn't share in my introduction there, brief bio, is that both of my boys have a genetic disability, and the hyphenated name is ATR-X. And what that looks like for them is it's a global disability. So not only are they physically disabled, but also mentally. So there is a lens that which me and my wife view life, view community, view basically any aspect of our daily living has a very particular lens. So intentionality for me is hyper-focused mainly on what our family can do or not do, or how we work within a standard lens or a standard life that maybe somebody that isn't working through our disability could have. So intentionality for us is simply being thoughtful about those considerations. How can our boys participate? How can we help participate? And then how does our community support that? And that needs to be a daily intended thought process for both my wife and I.
How do you and your wife come together on that?
Lots of talks. Communication is key for us. Really, it's a common goal. So we've developed a common goal in particular for their school setting, and that lens is always viewed for conversation. So our boys have specialized education programs that are goal-oriented for them specifically. So it's not like test taking or ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And we've developed a hard and fast vision for what school looks like for them. And for that particular setting, everything filters through that vision. So it's finding a common goal, making it realistic, but also lofty. And then having that as the backdrop of pretty much every conversation. And for this particular setting, it's education-based.
Just has me thinking how you engage. You talked about engaging with community. How do you engage with community that either has a similar background, or similar story, and the community beyond that doesn't have the same perspectives?
So the community that we're part of is quite small in regards to the exact diagnosis that my boys have. So that's a little bit easier for us to engage with, because it's not as if there's thousands of people that we're trying to all pull together. So in the United States, pre-COVID, every summer we did an event with all of the United States families, and it's nearly 20. So it's not a huge group, but it's big enough that we can all get together. And what we do is we find a common area, whether it's Chicago or generally it's in the Midwest, so that everybody can kind of attend. And we spend a long weekend together, and we talk about development, struggles, wins, and find community with that direct group. In the larger special needs community as a whole, we're part of a church that embraces special needs, adults or children. We buy our vegetables from a local nonprofit called Frank Farms that employs people that have special needs, mainly in the autism spectrum. So we choose to buy our produce from them to support that. And then in a school setting, we try and be as engaged as possible with the special needs programs. My wife does a wonderful job with that. Whereas pre-COVID, I guess that'd be 2019, they had a diversity day, and you would see folks with all sorts of different backgrounds, whether it be a cultural background or whether it be a heritage background. They were representing themselves. So my wife said, well, we're going to represent the disability. So we had a table and we outlined the boy's disability, and we were there and we communicated. So that's how we try and engage, whether it's at school or with our personal lives, just with that larger special needs community. In regards to the folks that aren't maybe engaged in a special needs world or don't have any relationship with special needs, we're just out there. You're going to find us at concerts. You're going to find us at restaurants. You're going to find us on walks. It doesn't matter to us if it's not accessible. We're going to make it work. If we got to carry the stroller down some stairs, we're going to do it. So that has been our engagement, is not letting potentially the disability stop us, but more so embracing it and saying, we're going to go out for Easter brunch. And if that makes people uncomfortable or people don't necessarily understand our particular circumstance, it's a great opportunity for conversation. And it's a great opportunity to be able to say, this is our life setting and our children deserve to eat out just as much as anybody else. And we're happy to communicate about that and just be really good stewards of our children and giving them every opportunity that everybody else has.
That's fantastic. Sounds like you're living out loud.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And while it shouldn't have to be a responsibility to be ambassadors for your boys or for their situation, it sounds like you take pride in sharing about your lifestyle.
Yeah. I think it's a gift. It's an opportunity to encourage communication and encourage acceptance. It's rare to have two disabled kids. Most people in the ATR-X community, they have one child that's disabled. So for us to be given the gift twice, it makes it even more so of an opportunity, because it's just like, wow, people will come to us oftentimes and say, oh man, looks like a lot or whatever. And our response is simply, this is what we know. We appreciate your encouragement, but ultimately that, this is just our life. It just is what it is. But yeah, it's an opportunity more than anything else.
Yeah. It seems like routine would be an important function in your lives.
Mm-hmm.
What's one change in habit that has had an exponential payoff?
My trail running, 100%. It's been an outlet for maybe some physical angst and needing to run the frustrations out. But it's also provided me some incredible outdoor mornings and personal time. It's very difficult for me to look at my wife and say, hey, I need 2 hours by myself with no interruption. It's very easy for us to give each other time for exercise. My wife runs 3 days a week, and that's a known time that she's by herself or with the company of her friends. And that's time that she's not by her phone, that I can't interrupt her, and that she gets to do whatever she wants. And maybe she runs 4 miles and then decides to get a cup of coffee with the girlfriends afterwards. Maybe she runs 8 and she's running the whole time. That's her choice. So it's provided those boundaries and reprieve, and it has been really good for both of us.
Well, it sounds like that's come about due to the very clear communication that the two of you have with one another.
We do our best. She's a really unbelievable partner, especially in this type of situation. She's just, I can't really say more than the lifestyle fits her. It's that she's one that rolls with the punches extremely well. So when things aren't perfect, she finds joy in that. And that's a really great partner to have.
What have you said no to that has made a significant impact in your life?
So I love this question. In my job role, I am a protector. So that's my that's the title I give myself. I protect our product, our manufactured product. I make sure that it's within boundaries. I make sure that it's defined, those types of things. So saying no is something that I don't quite enjoy, but I've gotten really used to. And I've said no recently to listening to the news first thing in the morning. So I have decided to not wake up and turn on the news and spend my morning coffee time listening to the news, or even my drive into work is no longer, the backdrop isn't the news anymore. And that's been a significant change in my mental space, as well as my emotional space of just feeling like, okay, I'm starting fresh. I don't think it's healthy to stick my head in the sand and not know what's going on. But I think there's a time and place for me to be able to set the tone for the day. And I believe that some of that inner angst or some of that inner frustration was being set up early in the morning by kind of being overly engaged with the news.
Have you replaced it with something, or is it silence now?
That's a great question. On the drive into work, we are supporters of a local radio station, WNRN. You can find them online. All these folks out there, check them out. It's unbelievable music. So I've reverted to that. I've gone back to the music thing in the car, and that's been really, really good. In the morning, I've chosen quiet. So when I get up in the morning and I do my routine, I've chosen not to have anything on. And that's been really healthy. I think that's been really good for me just to have some time in my own head first thing in the morning.
What in your life feels just about perfect?
So I don't like this question because it's really hard to answer. I feel like there's always room for improvement. But my wife and I have done a great job of getting our boys out backpacking. So when COVID hit and we were stuck in the house, we needed an outlet. And so we have these backpacks made for toddlers that our boys fit into, and we can hike with them on our backs. And we bought a state park pass, and we just started going to the most remote parks that we could find, so we didn't have to see anybody. And it was safe, but it was also an opportunity to get out. And it is currently one of the most perfect things that we do, because we're doing a really good job of not interrupting our chores. So the chores are still getting done on the weekend, and then the payoff or the gift out of doing all of that work is the hike. And the boys are really enjoying it. And Catherine and I, obviously, it's just a breath of fresh air to just get out. And we actually just came back from a trip, and I was talking with a coworker here about how it's like that solitude of time where we can just talk. There's no phone calls because generally the phone isn't serviceable in that area. We're engaged with each other. The boys are in a position where they're safe. We can talk to them from time to time as well, but it's really just her and I. And that's been really refreshing as well, is just to have that alone time with her and know that the boys are cared for and safe and with us. And that's been really beautiful. The other thing that she commented on, we just got back from a hiking trip with them, was that, and I had never really thought about this until she brought it up, but what we're exposing our boys to in those hikes are things they would never experience. My boys can't walk on top of a mountain. They can't walk to a remote stream. So how much of that are they actually comprehending? I don't technically know, but I do know that we're exposing them to things that are not on the trajectory of what would be their standard life setting. And that's super important. That's super fulfilling to have that also, in being able to say, this experience is just as much important for me as it is for you, because you may be 60 pounds someday or 80 pounds someday, and I may not be able to do that. So it's critical right now. And it's fun. I mean, they like it. We like it. It's good to be out.
Yeah. And the challenge has been set. You will be able to do it when they're 60 plus pounds.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. You guys have clearly been working hard on creating systems for success and refining those systems. Mm-hmm. What are some key ingredients to those systems, do you think?
Well, communication, end all be all, is number one. I think that's number one for the majority of life, is how you interact with people and how you communicate with them. I think two is grace. I am a very black and white human being. If somebody says something and they don't do it, it bothers me. I think that there are some definitive things in life where you can be true to it and you can be honorable to what you say or what actions you may take. But when you have children that are disabled, it's difficult to always hold up a commitment if something changes. So if there's a medical emergency, it's hard to hold up a commitment and you have to be graceful. When my wife has been with my children all day and I'm just getting home from work, it doesn't really matter if I had a bad day or not. My commitment is still priority when I get home. So giving myself grace, giving my wife grace, and then in return, receiving that from her and from myself is probably one of the biggest things that we can offer to each other. Again, I'm pretty anal. I like the dishwasher a certain way. I like the countertops a certain way. I like the house to feel and act as an extension of who we are, and giving myself the grace to say, just get the task done. Stop worrying about the details allows me that mental capacity to be able to give back to my family instead of constantly feeling bogged down with maybe the ins and outs of my daily routine. And I think that's been critical in my development, is giving myself that grace.
Sounds like you've done a lot of internal work there, Mr. Rey.
Yeah. I think it would be irresponsible for me to be in a position where I am with my family and not take some internal inventory, if not in a yearly basis, at least in a quarterly basis, to be able to say to myself, what's your performance? I get an annual review here at work. Why should I not be giving myself an annual review at home? And I think my wife and I also talk about it enough. My to-do lists or my needs, and her to-do list and her needs. We're only but so good parents if we don't care for ourselves.
What do you do when you're having an off day?
I get outside. I think nature is my safe place. So whether that's in the garden, whether it's building a fence for my backyard or a compost bin, I'm a doer. I love carpentry. I love getting in the midst of a project, even if it's a 6-week project and I only get to get an hour of it done. I love that because I'm hyper focused on it, and I can kind of put the things that are bothering me to the side when that task is at hand.
And seemingly there's ready access to it most days.
Most days, yes. Yeah, I love it. So I can find something to do too. Let's be honest about that.
Who is someone you admire, and what do you admire about them?
My boys, for sure. I know that's an easy answer, but they don't have much say in their life routine. They don't have much say in the decisions that are made for them. While they can communicate to a certain extent, whether they're pleased by the decision or not, they just suck it up, man. They suck it up. They put a smile on. They have a good time. They do what they can. They don't listen to the haters. Everything falls off the, what's the phrase? Water on the back, or whatever that phrase may be. It just seems as if they always are waking up the next day with a smile. It's pretty incredible, They're definitely ones that I look to and just say, man, your existence is pretty awesome sometimes. They can really have a positive impact on you.
What do you imagine some people admire about you?
My love language is words of affirmation. So I love to receive words of affirmation, but just as much I love to give them. And I'm also quite a chatty Cathy. I like to know what's going on in people's lives. I like people most of the time. So I think those two things paired together is I like to give encouragement. I don't necessarily like to hold people always accountable, although it does come fairly naturally. But I am more of the person that's going to say, hey, this was really, really well done. And I'm really appreciative of your effort. And I think that's something that I bring into our family life as well as my professional life, is just that positive kind of big picture mindset of just like, we've got tomorrow. Everything's going to be okay. Let's take it into perspective of what this issue is and how grand it may actually be in the grand scheme of life. Let's take a step back, but then encourage that forward movement and try and stay positive within that.
What do you want? What would you want more of in your life?
What would I want more of? That's a great question. I would want more time off. I would love to spend more time with my family. I'm 50 hours a week at my job, 45 to 50, somewhere in there most weeks. And I tell my coworkers I see them more than my family. And it'd be helpful to my wife as well as an opportunity for myself to be a little bit more engaged in the daily, like PT, OT therapy appointments. It's rare that I get out of work to go do that. So I would love that opportunity. Let me pair that with also saying that I'm extremely grateful to be employed, especially in this COVID time. Extremely grateful for a good employer that supports me and my family and my professional endeavors. But with that being said, it's a unique life that we live, and my children need some more hands-on attention, and to be available for that would be fantastic.
I have a feeling that you will find a way to make that happen.
I'm going to have to make it happen, because when my boys turn 21, they'll be back home. So we can choose to do school with my children. They can redo their senior year of high school until they're 21. Once they turn 21, now they will be back in the house. So we don't necessarily think that there will be future employment opportunities for them. So what do we do as a family? Am I going to make an incredible amount of money so that we can hire somebody full-time to be with my wife and pay them well so that we have good care? Or am I finding a way to be home more? And that's a real life scenario and conversation that's happening now, that has been happening, so that when they do turn 21 and both boys are back, it's not a surprise. So maybe the reason that I answered that question that way is because it is on my mind as of late. And that's kind of the voice in the back of my head that's kind of always there right now is, okay, you got 15 years until Louie's home full time, or 16 years. What does that look like? What are you going to do, Mike? And that's a real conversation.
Well, it sounds like obviously you're having that conversation already, right?
Got to be intentional.
Yeah, well,
right?
Yeah. I would not ever accuse you of being unintentional.
Oh, that wasn't. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
What other thoughts would you like to share in the name of intentionality?
I would just like to share how joyful it can be to be intentional, to have a single purpose in life and to live that. It makes making decisions so easy. Are we going to do this? Are the boys going to be engaged in that? Do we have accessibility at this place? Are we going to go here? Is it worth the effort to do this? All of those questions make trivial decisions quite easy. And then also, like I was saying earlier, the small things in life don't matter. Like, I get bogged down with it too. It's not as if I'm saying that I don't think about, oh, my shoes don't match my belt, or whatever those small things in life may be. Oh, I don't have this piece of clothing, or I don't drive that car, or my house looks like, okay, it doesn't matter. It truly puts a lens on my day-to-day of, like, to be quite blunt, like, my kids have eaten successfully today. I mean, that is fantastic. My kids decided to go from a sitting position to a standing position on their own without support. That is the meat of our life. That is the true fruit of our labors. And that, in comparison with not having a car that is approved by whatever, it doesn't matter, so it's freeing. It's joyful. It gives me opportunity to be me. I don't have to worry about it because I've got a bigger picture to worry about.
And you have a constant daily reminder too of what matters most. It sounds like it's pretty easy for you to recalibrate to that.
Yeah.
What if anything challenges your intentionality? It sounds like, if anything, it's surface level or material type things. Is there anything that challenges your intentionality?
Selfishness, oh, I can't do this because my family situation, or we don't have the cash right now because of XYZ. That selfishness, that selfish desire to maybe be independent, or want to have kids that I could coach in a sports league. Those times of selfishness, while totally understandable, like, okay, Mike, give yourself some grace. It's okay. You can mourn maybe some of those things in life. I also think that there's time to let that go. And that selfishness of wanting to say, I wish I could be out with my guys, my friends, my boys right now. Or I just had a hard day at work. Catherine, give me an hour before I jump into the routine. That doesn't then speak to her work that she's been doing all day. That's just like a kind of a selfish intention. And that is difficult to manage and be graceful within, because I'm human, I want to get out with the guys and drink a couple beers and have a good time. And maybe it's not the right time. And I need to understand that.
How do you fit it all in?
A routine to what you had said. Catherine runs Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I run Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Monday is a free day. So if anybody misses their run, they can fill it in on Monday. The boys go down at 7:30, 8 o'clock. From 8 to 10, it's free time. Whether it's Bon Air 5K PTA work, or whether it's I'm going to sit and watch this national championship basketball game. Routine for me is epic. I love routine. I'm a list guy, so having those things are really, really beneficial.
Well, this has been quite exceptional as far as this conversation. I really have appreciated it and enjoyed it very much. What else, if anything, would you like to share? Anything?
What else would I like to share? I would just say to the listeners out there, whoever's listening to this podcast, explore your world. Explore the world of those around you, however different they may be. Take a second to understand somebody else's reality, whether it's a close comparison to yours or a drastic, and have a little bit of empathy. Give people a chance. And I know I struggle with that. I can oftentimes be quite not accusatory, but just kind of like I paint a broad brush stroke sometimes if I see particular actions. And Catherine is always really good at just being contrary to that and saying, you don't know their life experience today. Maybe they're having a bad day. Give them a break. So I think it's important, especially with my children, of just allowing people to see a difference of life, difference of a way of being, and respect that and be appreciative of everything that kind of is given to them and those situations.
Beautiful. Well, I am very appreciative of your time and for you sharing some of your insights and perspectives with me and with us today.
Well, right back at you. I'm really glad that you reached out, and it's been really nice to connect with you again. And I'm looking forward to staying in touch this time, and the whole crew.
This has been Intentionally Ever After, hosted by intentional lifestyle coach Joe Bukartek. If you would like to have your own intentional conversation with Joe on or off the air, visit intentionallyeverafter.com. Thanks for listening.